narrative he's built on his platform. This is the danger of turning everything into a black and white moral story. You stop looking for the truth, and you stop thinking critically. And
okay, probably just gonna do.
The narrative, even if it means turning a blind eye to violence, abuse.
I'm probably just gonna do 1 or 2 raids tonight before I head to bed. So it's gonna be a quick stream, but just wanted to get some time in today before it got too late. So let's see if we can get lucky tonight, and yeah, come chat with me while I watch some random YouTube videos. It's gonna be this Pada video that recently released, and then watch some news on breaking points. So that's that. Let's get to it.
He calls his platform political commentary. It's not. It's pure indoctrination. When you have an audience, especially one made up of young, impressionable, and often disillusioned people, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to constantly try to seek the truth together, to try to stay open, and to try to be teachable. If you build your influence on moral certainty without humility, you're leading people toward a trap, and the ones who follow you will suffer for it. When emotion
yeah, I'm not really
thinking and complex ideas
this video, honestly.
to black
Probably
and white
to start with news.
This is the result of a number of private focus groups done around the world, paid for by the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs and leaked to us. So we're going to roll through some of the findings here, but to back up, the purpose of this project is clear. It is to test what messages will work for Israel going forward, particularly, quote unquote, after the war, in order to kind of try to regain some of the international legitimacy and standing that they have lost over the years. They did 15 focus groups, 6 in the United States, 3 groups each in the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. They also did what they call quantitative message testing, 8,050 total interviews, 3,250 interviews in the US, 1,200 each in UK, Germany, France, and Spain. This is to set a baseline, a starting point, to find out where people are now when it comes to their opinions on Israel. Spoiler, people in Spain do not like Israel's conduct. And then phase 3, what they call animatic testing. This is 5,600 interviews, 4,000 in the US and 1,600 in the UK and Europe, which isn't totally complete, but what by the time that this was put out, but is testing specific, what they call messages, tone, and delivery. So what are they doing? They're sitting down with people. This is very expensive work, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Millions and millions. And it's going to Stagwell Group, which is Mark Penn's firm.
Hello? My stream not on?
Yeah, Mark Penn, former Clinton guy, now more of a Fox News Trump guy.
Sort of
no, it's got to be. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Third way type,
but a
maybe.
Quirky. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
You can look him up. Go down the Mark Penn rabbit hole if you want. Yeah, he and his wife are involved with No Labels. Like they launched No Labels.
There you go. We just explained it perfectly.
Yeah, there you go. So what they do these focus groups, then they do telephone interviews, get baseline, and then they go back to people and try to figure out what can move people from their current baseline, basement level views of Israel to something that gives them some level of international legitimacy and avoids the isolation that is quite obviously coming their way.
Actually, yeah, I'll do a different browser.
To short circuit and get right to the chase, effectively what they recommend is ramping up Islamophobia. They argue that when Israel is compared to when Israel is compared to
so I am live.
People generally
I just fucking took a while for Twitch to update. Weird.
And they also then survey people's attitudes, particularly in Europe, towards Muslim immigrants, and find that there are a lot of people in Europe who have some underlying hostility towards Muslims in Europe. And so Israel's argument is lean into that, like lean into that kind of comparison, and say that we are the ones that are standing up against the horde, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Just key findings on page 3. International attitudes toward Israel and the conflict are consistently worse in Europe than in the United States, particularly in the UK, France, and
Kind of crazy that
especially
they're just testing this messaging on how
most
to
Europeans support the quote Palestinians, except in Germany,
how to get away with this, you
over
know.
Israel, but they do recoil against both Hamas and Iran. So when they compare Israel to Hamas and Iran, Israel polls better. When they say, do you prefer Palestinians or the Israelis or Israel, Palestinians wins out handily. 18 to 24-year-olds are uniformly the worst performing group, though attitudes in Spain are across the board negative to Israel, so everybody in Spain. Nearly half or more of all Europeans believe that Palestinians were there first, and solid majorities believe they had a nation there. 8 in 10 in Europe nevertheless believe Israel has a right to exist as a nation state and the homeland of the Jewish people. They also see the Palestinians as having a right to a state. As you've been looking at this document, anything that jumped out that you'd want to flag?
Well, this juxtaposition that comes across pretty favorably to Israel in the U.S. of Israel versus Hamas, and then Israel versus Palestinians. Now, in the rest of the world, when you make it Israelis versus Palestinians, you see more favorability towards the Palestinians. So UK, France, and Spain. Germany and the US are still the places where there's more favorability for the Israelis over the Palestinians. But you can see on page 14 why this argument about Hamas being the important talking point for those who want to bolster support for Israel is so powerful, because the gap between support for Israel and Hamas is so completely different than Israel versus Palestinians. And I think that's the kind of false choice that we see constantly offered, which is that you are either with Israel or you are necessarily with Hamas. And that's a problem actually for the Palestinians, many of whom do not wish to support Hamas. And wish that they had other options themselves. So not everybody. I mean, it's hard to actually know what that means and what support is, but like that in Gaza and the West Bank. But this is just, I mean, I think illustrative of why we so often see the choice between Israel and Hamas. And the argument that should obviously be made is that you end up with a more extreme and ultimately more powerful Hamas, because you are not going to eradicate the, like, quote, armed resistance part of Palestinian politics. That's not going anywhere. You can, quote, eradicate Hamas. Right. You probably can't, quote, eradicate Hamas, but that's not going anywhere. So that's why that juxtaposition is, I think, the Israelis still see value in it, obviously, because you look at these numbers.
Yeah, and the right-wing faction in Israel that has long opposed coexistence has actually they've been the ones that have wanted to elevate Hamas. This Netanyahu's strategy for a very long time to elevate Hamas so that you can then say that there are no partners for peace. And it works in a public relations way too. So you see even in Spain, Israel versus Hamas is 65-35 Israel versus Hamas, whereas everything else when you ask Spaniards about Israel is absolutely in the tank. Now, this is for a post-war, post-genocide circumstance that they're talking about. How do we redevelop positive attitudes going forward? There's a chance there basically isn't a Hamas, and there won't. There might not be a Hamas, anything like what we've come to understand. But what Israel's now doing in Gaza is boosting this Abu Shabaab gang, which has had ties to ISIS, and you can imagine a strategy.
I haven't heard anything about that.
They elevate groups that make Hamas look moderate to Spaniards and say, okay, yes, you don't like us, but what about this Abu Shabaab gang? And then people like us who've been following this from the beginning will be like, wait a minute, you guys built them. We watched you create them in real time and celebrate them. And then Barry Weiss interviewed them. And you got him in the Wall Street Journal. Like, yeah, but they have ISIS links. Like, we said that at the time. Like, and it's the gap between people who follow things closely and the ones who are just seeing it on the surface. So yeah, so what they might do is just create like ISIS-like groups to like lift them up.
Oh, hey, what's up,
like,
Nick?
Okay, yeah, you didn't like our genocide. You didn't like that. Fair enough.
Watching some depressing news while I do some chambers. So,
but you really don't
enjoy
want to these people.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, I mean,
and the people are like, yeah, but those are your allies.
as of
You prop them up.
as of
This is
how many
about
years ago, I mean, there's Washington
Israel
Post
doing like
magazines, it's
genocide
still-
messaging
it's
to kind
still
of.
American
Let me
textbooks
clarify.
circulating around Afghanistan.
They're
that
talking
have
about ways to
Islamist
like frame
messaging
the
in it because they
Israel
were,
Gaza
given out
shit
in the
going
Gazas
on in like a
to
positive
support the
light to
Mujahideen,
other nations
and
like
these things
European
have,
countries
like seriously dire consequences
particularly.
in over the course of decades, right? Like if you're trying to play Risk on the chessboard in like the immediate 5-year time span, rarely, if ever, are you actually accounting for what's going to happen? Are you actually like being clever in a long-term, maybe China is clever on a 100-year strategy plan, but that has not been the case with the United States and Israeli politicians roughly over the last 10 plus years. And that's how you end up with, that's how you end up elevating movements that actually are harmful to the United States. And then of course you censor them. You take the Bin Laden letter down from The Guardian, showing how the U.S. government, created this threat to the United States unintentionally with a ridiculous policy in Afghanistan. But anyway.
And if we go to page 15,
excuse me.
We're talking about this cross-national comparison, Israelis versus Palestinians.
We should make more democracy in the Middle
Israeli
East.
doing
Yeah,
worse with
I
Spain,
think that's the easy
71,
solution.
siding with
Why aren't we
Palestinians,
doing
29
that?
in Spain, second worst in France.
I think we're not
51,
trying hard enough.
41. Then UK 53-47, still siding with Palestinians over Israelis. And then it flips with Germany 55-45 pro-Israeli, the US 65-35 pro-US. Now the problem, pro-Israeli, same thing. The problem for the Palestinians here probably jumps out at you there. What do you see here? The least powerful countries are the most supportive of Palestinians. The most powerful, most supportive of Israel. Spain being the least powerful of these European.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the people in
France
Palestine.
would be the second least powerful.
I mean,
UK being
we can say
third,
Hamas is
Germany
terrible,
being
which
the
they
most
are.
powerful.
They're straight up terrorist organization. But at the same time, the regular people that live there are suffering terribly, and they're not responsible for that. I mean, I guess you could say that they elected Hamas, but I mean, I don't really know the specifics of that. But I know there are people that are just trying to live their lives, and they definitely don't deserve what's going on.
Being the most powerful country. So while publics in general, are leaning more toward Palestinians, centers of power, remain tight with Israel. However, you can see this changing, everywhere. You can go to page 16. Gen Z in the UK likely to support Palestinians over Israel by much more, 65-35 than the average UK. Even in Germany, among Gen Z, it's 63-37. For 18 to 24-year-olds in Germany, it's 71-29. So even in Germany, they're losing long term. France, way worse, 80-20 for 18 to 24-year-olds, 79-21 for Gen Z.
Those numbers would have been so different among that age cohort 10 years
That's
ago.
true.
I mean, 5 years
Definitely.
ago. Probably.
19, Spain is just a sea of yellow for the Palestinians there. And anyway, if you want to see the entire thing, we can link it below. Or you can
Oh, I'm not going to know
check it
prep, so
out.
I should probably pick these up.
Was this supposed to remain private and just circulate?
Yeah. Somebody wanted this out and decided to leak it to us.
And who exactly commissioned it? Was it the government itself?
Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs commissioned
Foreign Affairs commissions it. Okay.
Which got a huge influx of money for what they call Hasbara, for propaganda efforts. I forget.
Dude,
the
that
exact
portal's
figures
glitching out. You
that
see
are
that? What the
reported,
fuck?
but the budget for Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Israeli government has exponentially expanded since October 7th to do this kind of thing.
I know it's expensive to do.
Yeah. Just getting together one focus group.
Yeah.
It's like tens of thousands of dollars.
Let alone internationally.
Right, to do them all over the world and do a lot of them.
Super interesting story.
Yeah, interesting.
And you'll start to see it show up in the tone of different statements and such going forward. I'm sure different social media videos, No, it's not gonna, I think, create a dramatic pivot. I think this is roughly already a lot of the strategy, but in some interesting ways, it does show they'll have to open a new chapter in the propaganda war because some of the stuff isn't even working in the U.S. anymore.
And just a couple other interesting things, like it shows that they care about. Well, I'll just read you. So if you go to page 33, estimates of deaths in Gaza. Versus Israel. So like they'll ask people how many people have been killed in Gaza in the past year as a result of the conflict with Israel. So people in Spain will say 40,000, people in France say 30,000, people in the UK say 25,000.
On this note, I remember hearing some crazy statistic that the Israeli government released, and it was like 70-something% of casualties were non-military targets, like sort of civilians, you know, just getting blown up. It's fucking crazy. And that's what they admitted, so who knows? It's probably much higher, man.
People in Germany and the US say 10,000. So people in Germany and the United States genuinely, so when you look at the attitudes that they have towards Israel, they're based on a misunderstanding. Like they believe, because of the media diet that they consume, that many fewer people have been killed by Israel than have been killed. So that could also change their views when or if they ever understand that that's not true, that they've been lied to, that it's actually a lot more. So that could be, and it's interesting.
This guy's been kind of slacking lately in his commentary, like lots of pauses. I wonder if he just lacking sleep or something else is going on.
What do people know about what we've done?
Right. That is a really interesting one. I mean, the whole thing, it's all interesting. It's the questions they asked are interesting. Like that in particular is interesting.
And the next page is really interesting relative to that because it asks, of those killed, do you think they were mostly Hamas terrorists or collaborators or mostly civilians? And by overwhelming majorities, everyone, including people in the United States, believes they were mostly civilians. The
Maybe
US
I will no prep, actually.
In the US, 2/3 of people believe
that's not a lot of food.
That they were mostly civilians who were killed. But they also wrongly believe that they only killed 10,000 over the last year. So if they find out, oh, actually it was 100,000, 200,000, like as we find out, does that change people's attitudes? Certainly Israel thinks it will, because they wouldn't be surveying it otherwise. So.
Curious to see what they do with that one.
Yeah.
Very curious to see what they do with that one. Well, fascinating insights here, Brian.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, and in your inbox.
Crystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, in just a few short weeks, a who's who of comedy will board international flights bound for Riyadh for Saudi Arabia's massive comedy festival.
I think Tim Dillon's going to this
comedy festival in the world. The star-studded lineup includes the likes of Dave Chappelle, Tim Dillon.
He was on Joe Rogan, and he said he was getting paid like fucking $300,000 or something like that, $375,000 for going to this tour or comedy festival, whatever the fuck it is.
Bill Burr, Aziz Ansari, Whitney Cummings, Pete Davidson, Kevin Hart, and a whole lot more where those came from. You got your right-wingers, you got your left-wingers, you got your relatively apolitical, all coming together in a shared
goddamn, I totally can no prep. I have plenty of food.
Saudi cash that lured them to this event in
oh, never mind. This is just the
What about Saudi's imposed starvation of Yemen? What about their authoritarian speech suppression and vicious approach to dissent? What about the brutal murder and dismembering of Jamal Khashoggi? Their rampant abuse of migrant workers, including allegations of human trafficking? Well, as Tim Dillon makes plain, the payouts were enough to get everyone to look the other way.
They're paying me $375,000 for one show. Now, a lot of other people are getting $1.6 million. That's not me. I'm not in that bracket. But they're giving me $375,000. Others are getting $150,000. Why are they doing it? Here's the point. Here's the point. Okay? I am doing this because they're paying me a large sum of money. They're paying me enough money to look the other way. Do you understand?
That's exactly it, man.
The other way. That's a 4-word sentence that people don't do anymore. Look the other way. If something bad is happening to your left, look to your right. If, for example, I'm at a breakfast and I see someone get grabbed and they start hitting.
I should just watch Tim Dillon's show.
stick. I don't know if it's bamboo or whatever it is. It's kind of a wood, but it kind of snaps back. It's perfect for a cane. If I see someone getting it, I will look the other way. Okay? If I look the other way and I see someone being behanded, meaning they're chopping a hand off, that might be interesting to just kind of see actually how they do it. Because I think they do it in a sanitary way. But from what I've heard, you know, if they're chopping hand, I might look down. And if I'm looking at the floor and I see some eyeless beggar grabbing at me trying to get my money, I will look up to the heavens. And if in the heavens I see a drone flying over, I will look the other way because I'm being paid enough money to look the other way. What don't you understand?
Oh my
What
God.
is so complicated? I'm the only
What is so complicated?
Everyone else is going to have a million. They're going to go, well, actually, the Middle East is more progressive now, and he's trying to make some change. No. I'm being paid a lot of money to not care about what they do in their country.
There you go. The Saudi Comedy Festival,
It's
of course,
too
just
funny,
the
man.
Kingdom's latest effort in a long list of sports and cultural events where they have doled out tens or hundreds of millions of dollars so that
They're
people
paying
will
me
do
enough money
exactly
to
what
look
Tim
away.
suggests and look the other way. Probably their most discussed gambit from a U.S. perspective is the Live Golf Tour, which came in as a direct competitor to the PGA Tour, bought off a bunch of the world's top players, partnered with Donald Trump to host events at his properties. We still don't know how much exactly the president is netting from his Live Golf deal, but yes, ladies and gentlemen, the president, too, is being paid to look the other way on any Saudi doings
That's pretty
that
crazy.
may conflict with American values or American interests. But there is, of course, so much more. The Saudis have made massive investments in soccer. They purchased an 80% stake in Premier League's Newcastle United. They spent lavishly to lure global soccer superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar to Saudi clubs. They've hosted heavyweight boxing matches, regular WWE events. They back Formula
Lots of
1
esports
and
events.
Formula E, which is apparently electric car racing, esports, women's tennis, music
there it is.
festivals, including stars like Mariah Carey, Justin Bieber, and they've also lured artists for massive biennial art exhibitions. Now, some of these efforts by the Saudis to buy affection, they have been met with some protest, but none particularly significant or sustained enough to stop the stars involved from making the exact same calculus that Tim Dillon explained. Take the money, look the other way, assume the blowback will be minimal, and keep it moving. That bet has paid off for them every time, as best as I can tell. So this is where we are now, in whatever end state of capitalism we're in. Money's our god, the only end goal apparently that really matters, the only judge of merit or character, and with this false idol, we are witnessing a total and complete moral collapse. The comedians lining up to line their pockets are really just one very small example of it. I mean, it's barely worth mentioning in comparison to the decision to commit a full-on genocide and ethnic cleansing in order to secure beachfront property development rights. Increasingly,
Yeah, that was a pretty yikes comment from our boy.
Nihilism. The sense of our nation as any sort of collective enterprise has been broken by decades of a neoliberal ideology that was so individualistic that many apparently forgot other human beings were even actual human beings at all and not just NPCs or non-playable characters. How else can you explain the muted reaction when a boat of human beings is blown out of the water by the world's most powerful military, or when Florida decides to end all childhood vaccine mandates, putting your right to be an anti-vax crank over the health of the community, especially children, especially the elderly and the vulnerable? When we all watch every single day as a genocide is live streamed in our feeds, it may be that the only ones really worthy of being called human at this point are the doctors and the aid workers who rush into Gaza and the Palestinians themselves, who've somehow still maintained their humanity in the face of the greatest barbarism imaginable. By the way, Tim Dillon actually had something to say about this as well.
The niceties are gone. The pleasantries are gone. Israel's not disguising what they want to do. The motives are not. They don't matter. The narrative doesn't make sense. The stories don't add up. They do not care. They're not trying to make it make sense. They don't have the time. It's the last bit of control that they can exert over the system before it blows up. It's my guess. It's what it feels like. Nobody's putting the time in to lie to you anymore. You should worry about that. You should worry.
No one's putting in the time to lie to you.
Trying to make the lies good. They know
He is cooking, man.
If you believe them, they're going to try to dispose of you. I'll be in Riyadh. I'll be in Riyadh where my bread is buttered. Go find where your bread is buttered. Go get your bread buttered. Go get your toast buttered. Go get your jelly. Go jelly your jam.
Good.
Because the world is ending. But it's true, and it sounds rough.
Go get your bread buttered because the world is ending. Doesn't it actually feel like it captures a lot of the sentiment bubbling under the surface of our culture?
Yeah, that
We
hit
talk
different,
endlessly
dude.
about a vibe shift. Is that the vibe? The world's ending and I don't believe anything, so I'm just gonna go get mine, or at least I'm gonna try. I'm gonna chase some crypto scam. I'm gonna lionize the scummiest people on the internet. I'm gonna embrace the basest of human pleasures, which is the sense of satisfaction that comes from watching someone in the out group suffer. Is that the vibe we're talking about? After we were lied into the Iraq War and the economy collapsed and the banksters were rewarded and the effort at a collective renewal as represented by the Bernie campaign was snuffed down, is that what we're left with? Moral collapse, cash grabs, scammers, race to the bottom, and torture as a form of entertainment.
I think we're heading to
So a
something
bunch
new,
of
man. I don't know
comedians
what
with
it's
all
gonna
sorts
be,
of
but
supposed political ideologies, they're all going to go.
Can't
and
stay
they're gonna
this way
get their
forever.
bread buttered from a totalitarian monarchy that hacked a dissident journalist apart because the royal family did not like his Washington Post columns. There is another way. I know I'm laying too much at Zoran's feet here, but there is something that I genuinely find so special and hopeful about his campaign. It's the tiniest glimmer. The possibility of a renewed sense of a collective spirit, a glimmer of an expanded political vision that believes it is possible to make America's largest city workable for working people. 4,000, just think about this, extremely earnest people came out for a Sunday scavenger hunt for this campaign. Young people snapped out of their TikTok ennui to completely remake the electorate and shock the world. Or, for a more profound example, I would ask you to listen to Dr. Mohammed Mustafa, Palestinian refugee turned UK and Aussie citizen turned ER doctor who has gone twice to serve in Gaza.
It's like this bizarre thing because, Netanyahu at the start said, we are the children of light fighting the children of darkness. And I'm just like, the irony of it is it's the other way around. The irony, it's the other way around. It's those kids in Gaza that are the light. When you see those children, and I've seen them, when there's little food and, a child might have a plate of food and the other child is waiting in line and there's no more food left. And then that child who's hungry and emaciated starts scooping out food from his plate to put on that child's plate. When we had COVID over here, we had police officers guarding toilet paper because society had broken down. We were fighting over toilet paper. And yet you have starving children who are traumatized, who are sharing their food with each other.
Just think about that. In Gaza, their world may literally be ending right now. The most powerful country on the planet is trying to wipe out the evidence that they ever even existed. And still, they stubbornly refuse to become the animals that we have been told that they are. They are doing so much more for one another than just trying to get their own bread buttered. In other words, maybe, Tim Dillon, it's too soon to give up on the world. And Sagar, curious for your thoughts on a wide-ranging one there.
I hate to say it. Hey, if you like that video,
Fuck,
hit the like
dude.
button
I
or
need to
leave
get-
a comment below. It really helps get the show.
Get subscribed to their main channel.
And if you'd like to get... Very happy to be joined this morning by Juan David Rojas, a journalist with a great Substack you guys should all check out. You're going to love the name, too. It's called Social Democracy with Populist Characteristics. Great to see you, Juan.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So there are many things we could discuss with you, but today we have you joining us to help us understand what the hell we are doing vis-a-vis Venezuela. We can put this image up on the screen, this video that was released by the Trump administration after what you can see here is like this relatively small boat out there in the water, and either via a drone strike or an attack helicopter, we come in and blow this thing out of the water. Now, the Trump administration claims this was 11 Trinidad drug smugglers. Have they released any evidence of that? No, they have not. So, Juan, let me just first get your reaction to this development, the illegality of it, and why we should be very skeptical of some of the claims here that are being made by the Trump administration.
What, is it just shooting brown people? I mean, is that what they're trying to claim they're doing?
Give people the benefit of the doubt. I tried to be as charitable.
It looked like there was like
saran
wrapped drug packages in the video.
To El Salvador, and I'm pretty hawkish on immigration. But I mean, what we've seen time and time again with this government is that they're just their credibility is zero. And I mean, it's sad because there are a lot of like professionals in like the DEA, and Rubio claimed that the DEA was involved in this. I strongly doubt that. I mean, I don't think that the DEA would sponsor would sanction like extrajudicial killings of this kind. But I mean, what I mean to say is that there's people in government that like know things about Tren de Aragua, and
Oh
a lot of
shit!
the people that we've been told in the government,
That's
have
not
like
good.
verified Tren
Please
de Aragua
don't.
members. Like they've said that it's
Thank
because
you.
they have tattoos, of autism awareness. Like we shipped people to El Salvador that had like an autism awareness tattoo. And Tren de Aragua, like they're not the Bloods and the Crips. They're not MS-13. Like there are gangs that use tattoos as like markers of affiliation. That's not the case with Tren de Aragua. Similarly, they have been known to deal drugs at like small scales on the street level in Venezuela, but across international borders, it's not really their thing. So honestly, I think it's possible that these were drug runners of some kind, maybe, to be charitable. But what I can say for sure is that it's extremely unlikely that it was Tren de Aragua. And the reason they probably are saying that is because they designated it, a foreign terrorist organization. And so they claim, and the legality of this is still dubious, that because it was designated a foreign terrorist organization, they have the authority to just, extrajudicially kill them as if, they were like Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. It's a similar thing. It's kind of like we're bringing the war on terror.
Yeah, they may claim that authority. They don't really have that authority.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the war on terror designation has been that authorization of the use of military force has already been stretched beyond recognition. But to then use it against a cartel is another extraordinarily, we'll call it a legal leap, I think is the most fair thing that you could say. And by the way, unless something has changed, I have not actually even seen the administration use that justification. The reporting I saw is they're still trying to figure out how they're going to claim that this was remotely justified.
Yeah, and like Rubio's changed his story. He said first that the boat was going to Trinidad, which is more plausible. I mean, that also seems kind of unlikely because if you know anything about like geography, Trinidad's right off the coast of Venezuela, and I doubt that the ships that we have in the Caribbean were like right between Trinidad and Venezuela. Then he changed his story because Trump said that the boat was going to the U.S., which really, I mean, you're going to tell me that thing was going to go all the way to the U.S. Very unlikely too. So, yeah, there's a lot of holes in this. There's also a question about, the number.
I think it's back-to-back prayer scrolls.
11 people. Like drug runners, you typically don't want to have that many people on a boat because you're trying to, maximize the amount of like drug cargo that you're shipping. So, yeah, it's all very dubious.
The thing is, Juan, this is what I'm worried about. I don't think anything has to do with drugs. I looked at the DEA's own estimates. 93% of all cocaine in the United States is trafficked via Colombia to Mexico to America. 93%. The rest of the 7% is like some Venezuela, whatever. All right. So we're dealing already with a not even tertiary. It's not even fair to say that. Like the most side actor of side actor possible. At the same time,
sorry, I was fixing my chat here real quick.
This huge U.S. military buildup is coincided with this strike, a warning to Maduro, and some $50 million bounty on his head. So this looks like a very convenient Noriega-style operation to basically, for an excuse of regime change in Venezuela. Is that how you see it?
Hopefully not. I mean, you never know, but thankfully, the amount of troops we have in the Caribbean right now, it's nowhere near the amount we would need.
I think I need to find a new video though. Let's see what we got here.
There's a whole fleet of them. Oh my gosh. Whistleblowers, government employees, they're inside their government office. They see something they shouldn't. Look at that thing. It's rotating.
More than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades are not from the U.S. military or other advanced U.S. government technology.
There are UFOs. There are non-human intelligence. We have crash retrieval programs.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
If the story breaks, it's the biggest story in the world. And there's a lot of knock-on things. Government, FOIA, what's true, what's not true. We're following it down just like we'd follow any other story. And if it is the biggest story in the history of humanity, we want to get into a piece of it. In podcasting, there's a long-held
Stream
tradition
problems.
to talk about aliens, UFOs, and abductions. So we're going to do our version of a UAP, UFO, Are There Aliens Out There? Podcast this week on Shane Smith Has Questions. We hope you enjoy it. Let's hear you in the comments. Bango. Cheers.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, here we go. Jeremy Corbell, investigative filmmaker, UFO, UAP researcher. I want to get into the difference of when that switched. Known for your documentaries on Netflix, including, I just watched it, Bob Lazar, Area 51.
Exactly what's going on up there. What's going on up there could be the most important event in history.
But you do a lot of viral releases of military UFO footage, often through collaborations with George Knapp, and you do a podcast called Weaponized.
All of that is fact.
There you go. Okay, good.
So
welcome.
far, so good.
Welcome. So I have a lot of stuff I want to do. But I want to start, maybe we could just jump in with you just released some footage today.
Yes. This is an example of one of the UFOs that our military and intelligence community is looking at, where this orb or this metallic looking ball runs alongside a spy plane. Okay, so...
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
Yes, you used a word viral. That's cool. It gets out there for sure to the world. And that's the point, is to get it seen from tabloid to mainstream media, democratically, instantaneously. That's the goal. Military filmed footage of what they designated UAP or UFO. So we vet it, verify it, find all the sources. George Knapp, you mentioned, is the godfather.
Sorry, this is important because if it's just somebody's thing, we made it up, this is vetted military footage, their footage.
Yes.
That...
Okay, so that distinction. So nowadays, out of the hundreds of thousands of videos that are recorded of what people think are UFOs, you can't tell anymore, right? Anything can be made better than reality.
True,
but
with
when you have
AI.
chain of custody, you have cases that are passed around intelligence agencies that are guarded, that don't want the American public to see. You know, and they're usually filmed on military platforms, those sensor systems are better. We have a sensor bias when it comes to UFO footage because great sensors pick up thermal, heat signatures, all that stuff. So the whole point of this is that when you get something, if you can vet and verify its kind of chain of custody, its authenticity, I'm not calling these UFOs. Your government has labeled them UAP, which just means UFO basically. And
Sorry, I'm going to keep interrupting.
No, that's fine.
What's the difference? Why did we switch from UFO to UAP?
Okay. Well, originally, UFO was created to try to make a laugh factory out of the idea of unidentified flying objects.
Right.
In their infinite wisdom, truly, in their infinite wisdom, people that really wanted to better describe what was being observed, they called them UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, because they're not just flying. They go from space to air to sea with zero inertia. So you can pop into the water without a splash. How is that possible?
Right.
So they call it all domain, right? So it goes from space to air to sea. If it's there, it's unknown.
It's fucking weird,
it's
man.
Anomalous,
It's
UAP. So they did that to destigmatize reporting. Because if you're on a ship and you see something that you can't explain, what are you supposed to write? What it is, they used to say, I'm not writing UFO.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely not writing You writing UFO? Nope, didn't see it. Okay, cool.
Right, because it's got a negative connotation.
Right, so now
You'll be a crazy person.
normalizing reporting within the military and the world by saying, look, we don't know what it is. It's anomalous.
Yeah.
It's unidentified or whatever. But unidentified, anomalous phenomena. And then when you write that after
More credible.
You
Yeah.
fucking
Now, I
cocksucker.
don't want to get off track. Mosul.
Okay, Mosul orb.
So Mosul orb, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
So tell me why.
Okay, yeah, we can go one for one. I can rapid fire. So check it out. Here's the brass tacks. There was a CIA plane, and it was flying over a conflict zone, an active war zone. They were targeting a terrorist compound. As they were doing that, they got what's called a passive capture of a UAP. It's spherical. It appeared spherical. So our first episode of Weaponized, mine and George Knapp's podcast, at the end, we're like, okay, you want to see what the government terms a UFO or a UAP? Here you go. But I just released a still image because at the time I was figuring out the legality of obtaining and releasing as a journalist stuff that I am not authorized to know its classification. I knew exactly where it went through. I verified it with a ton of people. It was part of a UAP product to teach people about UFOs. So I knew that was a UFO and our government had labeled it such. And I knew it was unresolved when I reported on it in 2023 with George, right? But the picture was from 2016 and the sensitivity of that compound, I don't know. You get in trouble for the compound, not the thing. So I released a still image as a way to provoke AARO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, kind of like the modern day Project Blue Book, but worse.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States.
I was like, put out the footage, show the American public. It got leaked to me. I obtained and released it as a journalist, so I put out a still image. Never put out the video. And then all of a sudden, I got this wicked smart friend, and he fucking sued the government. He sued the Air Force. He sued Central Command. I don't know, a bunch of people he sued. And they Freedom of Information Act request and litigated for 2 years quietly. First thing he gets, he calls me up. He goes, no way. I think I got something. No way. Jeremy, can you tell me, is this what I think it is? Boom. He sends it on my phone. I go, stop sending it. Don't tell anybody. Shut up. We're doing it next week. Because they would give a false sense of transparency by putting it out. What comes to light is that my reporting was correct. I wasn't talking out of my ass. Absolutely. There was 4 seconds, like I said, and if people said it was a raindrop.
That thing is fucking crazy, dude.
Because I just gave a still image. That's why I started doing videos. Legally obtained, and this is a huge win for journalism, and a huge win for Freedom of Information Act requests, and a huge win for the litigation process of journalists and any American trying to get from the government what they don't want you to see, which is that UAP are made not by us, not by China, not by Russia. I mean, some are, they're misidentified, we got a cool plane. Somebody's making these machines that can outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform our greatest weapon systems. Whose are they? Well, those are the bigger questions. But all I know is the Mosul Orb dropped the footage today, legally obtained through litigation, and it proved
Mosul Orb.
that
I need to look that shit up.
Reporting correctly that there is what appears to be a spherical ball with no drop or descent. We don't know if it's moving or if just the CIA plane was moving, but they think it's UAP. Actually, 2 days ago, it's unresolved UAP. So we reported on it, and this kid's name is Dustin Slaughter. Everybody take a note. That kid is wicked smart.
Okay, good. And he got the FOIA released.
Yes, sir.
Football season is upon us, and this season, we teamed up with BetMGM. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we have special offer. BetMGM yet. Use bonus
fucking gambling ads, dude.
$1,500 first bet offer today.
So it's footage of something we don't know what it is, but it's nothing. It's not like a drone. It's not like.
Right. So we can eliminate certain things. Good whiskey, by the way. What is this?
Whiskey.
Cheers. This is like nice. We met each other a long ass time ago in your office, man. So, yeah, and I mean, I have opinions, and I'll give you those, but what we're seeing with every piece of footage that George Knapp and I obtain and release is what our government labels a UAP or a UFO, meaning it's not our black project. It's not a known adversarial black project, adversarial nation. And it can demonstrate characteristics unlike what we have for flight and maintaining flight, like a positive lift without like winglets and engines. And in the thermal realm, it gets even weirder because you don't see heat signatures. How is that possible? Everything is like rockets to roller skates. You push something out the back to go forward. These UAP don't have that same signature management, as they say. So you're like, what is it? How does it fly? Who pilots them? Some might be drones or autonomously controlled, but some of them, as reported to Congress under oath by David Grush, have had biologics inside of them.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries,
Well, let's get into that. Hold on. Before we do, we're already into the deep stuff. Before we do, I wanted to go through.
There is no light conversation about UAP. It's
Oh, there you go. Come on. I want to get into some of the more
keyboard had it switched to my other laptop. That could have been bad.
You can explain it. I'm going to get out of my chair if you can believe that. I'm coming over.
Okay.
So we're going to just go through. So that's the Mosul orb.
Yeah, which they said was a pothole when I released the image. All the debunker weirdos.
Right.
And, you know, it's not.
This is your.
I think the wildest thing about this fucking clip is that it is sourced from the government. Like, so it's not tampered with. Like, this is, unless the government tampered it to make it look like UFOs are fucking real, but that doesn't seem like, I don't know, that just doesn't make sense.
Your one, right?
Well, I mean, not mine.
No, yeah, but you released it.
It's
Yeah.
yours.
Took off. Okay.
Okay, so this is also a more of a spherical, we think, by angle of observation. And the cool thing about this, the Navy guys, they say splash. They didn't mean it made a splash. It descended, controlled descent. It was illuminated into the water. They sent a sub to try to look for it. It couldn't find it. There was 100 of these, over 100, around 10 Navy warships in a 100-mile radius. Every ship was getting comms, and I've talked to people on every single ship whose job it was to fight the ship.
Right.
And to this day, they don't know what it was.
And so the narrative there are naval officers.
Correct, yeah.
So this is the flashing pyramid.
Here's another one.
I'll sit down again.
So it's triangle.
Whoa.
It's triangle by angle of observation.
Yeah.
Now, some people say bokeh, and I say okay, because the thing is they're saying
That's
there's a
fucking
lens
weird.
problem. The problem with their theory.
It seems like a
is
lens
that
thing,
this
though, if
was,
it's triangular.
Range found on the back of the ship. These were objects that, no matter what shape they were, they shouldn't have been there. So they were objects off the.
Yeah, fuck it, I'll grab this other overload.
USS Russell in that. He used a night vision PVS 14 to film through. I didn't call these UAP. Your government did.
Right.
I did not call them triangle by angle of observation, pyramid in shape. Your government did.
That's true, actually. Another good point. Like, this is government-sourced footage, and this is what they are claiming that it is.
So
after their analysis.
And what people do with that, that's up to them.
Yeah,
That's fucking crazy.
So this is the.
What are
the
these things?
largest UFO.
This one blew me the away.
Right.
So again, every piece of footage I put out, you're going to have alternate theories, and part of the reason I put it out is to get those theories. But our government labeled this, get this is my enhancement. I shouldn't even wrote that. All we did was change contrast, whatever, not creating anything new. That is, in my eyes, circular by angle of observation. So it could be a globe, could be a disc.
Whoa.
Your government labeled it UAP. This is
That is fucking weird, bro.
A passive capture in thermal, so it's up there.
What the fuck is that?
And it captures this. They labeled it disk navigating through clouds.
Brother. That's fucking chills, man. What the hell?
How does
Holy
this thing
fuck.
propel, if it's indeed propelling, right? How does it propel if it doesn't have the traditional heat signatures?
Right.
Now, I'm open to other interpretation. Maybe some genius going to figure out what this is. Tell our government, because to this day, this is unresolved to them.
What the
"This is
fuck?"
It's disc-shaped. Whose is it?
Right.
Now, I'm not a scientist, but I've just looked at a lot of this footage now. I got questions like anybody with a bone in their body curious about.
That
nature
one's
of reality.
wild.
Is there a part of our history and nature that we're not allowed to know?
Yeah. Well, that's the bigger. We're starting small.
I'm sorry.
We're getting there.
We're starting small, he
So we
says.
got the,
You gave me the whiskey.
There you go. We got the Iraq.
You got my greatest hits
There
up
we
here.
go.
I remember seeing something. I didn't laze it to see the exact how many meters it was away, but just me observing it, I'm gonna say it's probably about 200 meters. I kind of seen something raise up, an object kind of come off the floor from that distance. This is weird. What the hell is this? I grabbed my camera, I had a little black
Whoa.
case, popped it open, and it started filming. So I was looking through my camera screen and seen it raise up and continually raising.
So this is a big one, right?
So why this is important is because when you look at the shape, like a sombrero, bro.
Right,
Like we don't have
Yeah.
anything that's a camera. He's on a gunner and he's filming through the gunner optics, night vision, and the kid's talking. He tells you exactly. I interview him and put it over the footage. So he's out in, I think, Iraq, and he's out there, and this is 2008. The gimbal footage is some of the most famous UFO footage that's out there by military. Look at that shape. So that's kind of
Pass it.
It's crazy to me that, yeah, and he filmed it.
Yeah.
Kid's smart. He knew it was important the second he saw it because you could range find.
So he's filming it through his sights.
Well, he's got a phone and he's holding it up to
Oh
the
my
camera's
God.
optic system, which
That
is
is wild.
green night vision infrared, similar to thermal, but
Yeah.
it's more of like you can see in the dark better.
Right.
See the clouds.
And so this one caused a lot of...
Dude, they all cause a lot of waves because everybody's trying to solve a puzzle, and puzzles are fascinating. And the question
What's
is,
the biggest one that we're doing the tic-tac?
well, this is the 2023. So this one is from 2023. So that got leaked to me and George Knapp, and we produced it, put it out. And one of the people that was
I think this
there
is
to
the one that
actually
I
see it
initially
on
saw
footage
when I
was like, okay,
first got introduced to this
you guys
UAP
really
stuff.
do have it. I'm going to tell you what happened that night. And that's that guy, Alexander Wiggins. And look, he's an active Navy, one of the top dogs. Like, he has a family. I'm like, are you sure you want to? He's like, I want to. This is important because what I saw that night is so powerful and people need to know about it. But this is a Tic Tac shaped by thermal. This gives us the idea of what Commander Fravor chased for the United States military, which is a Tic Tac shaped object.
Okay, maybe I saw the Fravor one, and this is a new one,
The controller
2023.
was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
He went in front of Congress and said, we don't have that technology now. We won't have that technology in 10 years. He goes, we're not even trying to think of having that technology in 10 years. And he goes, I would know. And what people that don't know is that he has a classified job right now, which would give him insight. That's why he testified to Congress. He chased a Tic Tac UFO.
As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the white water was at, and it was gone also. So as you started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away.
What the fuck? Yeah, that was a crazy story.
We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to him, and they went out and luckily got in the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar.
Now, we talked to a guy who was in the Navy, Ryan Graves.
Ryan Graves was the...
Oh, I remember him being on Joe Rogan.
Ryan Graves.
Pretty compelling stories. But it feels like, or it seems like, they see a lot of these.
Active duty pilot to come forward publicly about sightings of unidentified aerial phenomenon or UAPs.
This disturbing pattern of incursions that are similar in nature over a multi-year period that seem to be growing in scale and concern, frankly. I mean, after a while, when you hear hundreds of reports from professionals, from elected politicians, from others that just say, I've never seen anything like this. It kind of looked like a plane. It didn't, but the way it was moving, altitudes, the way they're operating together, just not like anything I've seen. It's hard to discount that information.
So he's a good dude. So basically, he's come out and said, look, this is an aviation safety issue, if nothing else. If nothing else, my boys are out there, and every single day. So Ryan never saw one. He chased one. We tried to go after it. He couldn't see it with his eyes, but they get him on radar.
They're very solid, and they were behaving.
Ooh, this might be sketchy with
almost
prayer.
like an aircraft, right? They were stationary in the air. In high winds at various altitudes. They were sometimes
Fuck it, we'll try it.
pattern, sometimes in what we call a racetrack pattern. One of these objects went right in between the two fighters that were about 150 feet apart. Came within about 50 feet of the lead aircraft, went down their right side. Pilot, weapon system officer gained a visual sighting of it. They ended up canceling their flight, returning home. And that's when I met him in the ready room, and he just had this, look of shock on his face. His mouth was hanging open, and he's like, I almost hit one of those damn things. Well, what did it look like? Simple description. He said it looked like a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere.
Wow.
About 5 to 15 feet in diameter.
Every damn day, they're seeing cubes with spherical auras. And it's not just perplexing because they're on mission. It's a safety of flight issue because one came right between two planes going in. You get a collision going 500 miles an hour, man, it doesn't matter if it's a seagull, right? So Ryan Graves did testify to Congress. look, this is a safety of flight issue. So if nothing else, if you don't want to talk about UFOs, we got to talk about that.
That's right.
So that's why I love what Ryan does is he's bringing it to like brass tacks.
Well, he's also, you know, like he's a naval pilot, you know, and he's out there, his wing saw it. They also, they reported it.
Yeah.
Now,
he tried to go after one time. I asked him, he tried to go after one, but he couldn't optically see it just on the radar. Sometimes you don't see him visually.
Hello, Bango, and welcome to our Bet MGM Lightning Round with Jeremy Corbell. All right, we're here, the man, the machine, Jeremy Corbell. Let's do a lightning round. What's the over-under on the U.S. government admitting that they actually have a UFO in storage by 2026?
They've already admitted that on my show, Weaponized. The head of the DIA UFO program already admitted that we had one UAP and we breached the whole of it. So I'd say that's 100% because it's already been admitted.
Okay, let's make it simple. If Earth is Vegas and UFO sightings are the games, how many points would you spot the skeptics versus the believers?
This fucking guy and his betting ads, dude.
Out of this world, you know, they have a fervent belief.
Or Gamba ads.
But, when you talk about debunkers compared to people that actually research it, I would say the debunkers have lost incredibly because the preposterous preponderance of evidence that has been collected and looked at, even by our own government, is so high. Big time losers. I won't call them skeptics, but debunkers.
If you had to make a bet on which country comes clean about UFOs, US, Russia, or China, where are you putting your chips?
Yeah, actually, we got really, really close to the Five Eyes Alliance through Canada. They actually wrote a document saying we need to get ahead of this or our population will no longer trust us. And that was, so I'd go out of left field here and I'd say we might learn about this from one of the Five Eyes countries, and I would say that's most likely going to be the most honest, which is Canada.
I like it.
The U.S. is going to come in and control the narrative.
I like it. I like going off-piste, as they say, and it's Canada for the win. The nice Canadians are going to let the cat out of the bag. Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Bazango.
I love it.
Well, I used to say bango, and then I got bored, so now I say bazango. We got a lot of military footage now, and we have a lot of military people. They're testifying. And, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is it seems like for the last few years anyways, there's been sort of more of a fever pitch, like something's going to break, like, you know, something's coming, you know.
It does feel like that.
Humanity and our hope.
Something's coming.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's gone from fringe. And I remember talking to a bunch of people, and then there was going to be this Congress and, you know, congressional hearings, and
we had multiple.
And so you talked about the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, and so this comes out, and they say, yeah, no, there's nothing to see here. What?
They didn't quite say that.
Well, what did they say?
Okay, so as a journalist, it's the paper trail. If you ask George Knapp, who's been doing this for 40 years, that's why you know about Area 51, Bob Lazar, flying saucers. It's the paper trail. He was lied to, and he knew he was lied to, and that pisses off anybody if you're lied to. The UFO thing you've been lied to about, I don't know what it is ultimately, but I know you've been lied to. So similarly for me, my entry point, my gateway drug was that, well, if Bob Lazar's telling the truth.
Bob Lazar claims our government captured alien spaceships, UFOs, and keeps them in a secret warehouse.
They are actively and have in their possession alien spacecraft, and they are actively undergoing analysis.
Then distance doesn't matter anymore. If they have a different propulsion system, a million years ahead of us in physics, let's say, then if they're out there, which everybody agrees with, right? It's a universe is teeming with suns. Just look up at the stars. Every star is a sun with orbiting planets, probably in the Goldilocks zone. So if there's life out there, because we ain't that special, are they coming here? That's where the conversation has now turned. And I think that's what you're feeling, is that we're realizing we don't know everything. And it's possible there are things in physics and science and nature that we are discovering, right? So the question is...
Getting hammered on these prayer orbs.
Now, when you cut it
It's not good considering you have 2 prayer pods.
and you look at this and you say, okay, I don't know everything. It's possible. Then you come into the just conflicted reality that UFOs are not in movies and magazines and popular thought and pop culture because we created that idea. They're there because people are seeing them. They'd been seeing them a long time. It's part of every single culture on every single planet, homogenous around the world. I don't know a single person who at least doesn't know somebody who's had some sort of unidentified sighting. So the elephant in the room is that our government didn't say nothing to see here, move on this time.
Right, okay.
And that's
well, what do they say?
What they admitted is that UFOs are real, that there are craft that do things that we can't explain, that we need, like an alcoholic, you need to admit there's a problem before you can start working on a solution. They've admitted UFOs are real. Officially, our government has told you UFOs are real, that we don't know how or who, we have suspect how they might operate, but we don't know who's operating them. So everybody's been told, but they didn't hear it. That is official. But that's where it stops. I don't want you asking any more questions. And I know that because we have fought tooth and nail.
But why? Why don't they want us to? It doesn't make sense.
Now it does make perfect sense.
I understand why no monkey goes in the middle tile now.
Originally, back in the nuclear time, it was for strategic advantage. If you can get derivative, exploitative technology, so if you can exploit, well, almost there, if you can exploit any technologies for derivative technologies, just like how Russia will take and back engineer one of our bombers and figure it out, right? Then you have a strategic advantage. So I get it. Back in the day, why they didn't want us to know about this is because they thought, and this is documented.
During the Cold War.
Well, they thought first people would go crazy. Then that's been debunked. That, like the War of the Worlds thing, nobody went crazy for that. Nobody went wild. Then they're like, maybe it'll upturn people's religious ideas. And they realized, no, it won't. Most religions are like inclusive of all of God's creations. So then they thought, well, this is really important. If we can get derivative technologies through exploitation of these craft, then we would have a strategic advantage. And whoever gets there first, they win. Because it's clear that these craft are operating off of a propulsion and energy system that is different than what we have as far as reactionary propulsion. So that I understand. I understand that back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, that we needed to protect that information to exploit the actual craft and actual hardware and the propulsion systems that we have obtained, which we have, and you've been told by people in position to know very publicly, even the number of craft in the U.S. that they believe we have.
Not the 9 that Bob was on.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
That's different. See, people don't trust Bob, except everything that he's said is now becoming fact. That's fucking weird. He must be the luckiest liar I've ever met.
What facts, for example? Like, you're obviously, you know, knee deep in the weeds, but for laymen.
Dude, I'm deep in the weeds or above.
So there we go. Bob Lazar famous for he worked at...
Bob Lazar worked at Area 51, a subsite called S4, Site 4. He claimed that there were 9 flying discs and that he was working on one of them. And he was actually able to enter it at one time to see what it was. And that's when he dawned on him it was not ours because the seats were too small.
They were first and 1/2 the size. And also the propulsion system.
Right. And so that's a complex briar patch of a story, but all you got to know is you don't got to trust Bob Lazar to know the truth about UFOs. Although you should, because he's trustworthy and he told you the truth as it happened. But I'm the guy that made the movie on him and knows him as a friend.
So you made you made a documentary on him. And then where the hell is Barry?
It's a great question.
Where's Barry?
How did you jump from I want to know about UFOs to where's Barry? Because that's a great question. And George Knapp and I think that we found Barry a couple times and wasn't sure we did. And now Barry be maybe dead. We don't know. Dennis, his boss, when Bob Lazar famously went on the news, it was hilarious. He called himself Dennis as a pseudonym. This is like a you to his boss. Because if you know Bob, you know that's how he rolls, right? Damn, I don't know if he regrets that now because his life got turned upside down.
I'm dead.
He's a guy who never ever benefited.
That's really unfortunate.
It only hurt him, and I know his
dead
family,
as fuck.
So I know that to be true. So if he's the luckiest liar I ever met, or he's absolutely told you how it happened, but that's for you to decide, not me. But if you trust anything I have to say, I believe Bob with all of my heart and all of my mind. And so here we go. Big picture. Let's just step back 1 second here. What Bob Lazar told you is that the government had flying saucers. They were all weird shaped though. That he worked on one. That they couldn't make progress. That every day going to work was like working on a nuclear reactor from like some other country, and you have no idea how it works.
Fucking Poison and Burns, man. They just cucked me so hard.
Turns out that in Congress, under oath, people were raising their hand.
That's pretty good no prep though.
We have
4 food, 2 prayer pots, and I still made it that far.
There are biologics inside some of those crash retrievals, but I'm not going to call them necessarily crash retrievals because some of them seem more like gifts. Bob even said that one of them, he believes, was from an archaeological dig. It doesn't matter. You've been told now that we have these programs to exploit the technologies, and there are biologics on the craft, and Bob happened to say 9. It's really funny because just recently, Hal Puthoff, who's a man who's been involved with all these programs, he goes, if I told you everything, they'd kill me. He said, I can't. He's a very serious scientist that worked on all these black projects, renowned in the scientific community. He was at SRI, Stanford Research Institute, studying Uri Geller and psychic phenomenon. Anything weird, you call Hal Puthoff, right? So this is a guy that has impeccable credentials working for our intelligence agencies on this stuff. And he straight said the number that he's pretty sure the United States has, I think is wrong. I think we have more. But that's where Bob, what he said, just
I should bring a saying with me.
Because what he said ends up being where we are now.
There are 9 UFOs that office has helped with going out and retrieving, and that 2 of them are actually intact craft.
When the door was open and I went into the main hangar, I could see there were other hangars as I walked by, and they went pretty far down. I could clearly see 2 craft in there.
And we all want to believe. And actually, not me. A lot of people want to believe in UFOs, but UFOs are not a matter of belief.
Well, here's my problem with it is so we have UFOs, and we reverse engineer the technology. So we're like, okay, like how can we, that's Cold War. Okay, let's follow that trajectory. So we say we've got some technology, we want to reverse engineer it so we can have an advantage against the Soviet Union.
That's the old school thought of secrecy.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, I get that, and I understand that. But this would literally be the biggest story ever.
Yes, sir.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I don't even care necessarily so much about the UAPs or the UFOs. That's just a physical manifestation of, hey, hold on a second. We're not alone. Where are they from? What has been the interaction? Is that religion? Is it not? Is it part of religion? All of these questions that we have, humanity. I mean, that's why, to me, and it's quite a large question, in that, okay, if we have these things or we're looking to solve these things,
don't forget my
that's
pre-pot.
actually the tip of the iceberg to a much bigger, and this is what I want to say, there's a much bigger philosophical question of what does that mean for everything, So for me, all of these things that we're finding out now, like dark matter, dark energy, weakly interacting molecular particles, all this stuff. So obviously a lot of these things are coming out now. So science, physics is being sort of
actually, I could
turned
hit
on its
this.
ear. And
then
we
just
have, since Snowden and
bring another brew.
Whistleblowers are not necessarily a bad thing. So more people are coming, military people.
It's a good thing.
And so for me, and this is why I want to talk to you today, and I just wanted to get some of the mechanics of it down. But okay, to go back to the government, whoever breaks this story, but whoever gets there first. So, for example,
not break the story if they crack the technology,
or crack the technology,
the material science,
but also break the story of, hey, we found, or they gave it to us, or we found, or we're friends, or we know.
That story done been broken.
By who?
It's already been done. See, people, if you don't know that, you haven't been paying attention, but I understand.
But I don't know that because it hasn't been unequivocally proved, because if I knew, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
So what's your barometer for truth? Like, do you need to walk into I'll just say a craft that can travel in space, not made by humans? That's why they changed, remember UFO, UAP? It's no longer aliens. They call them NHI, non-human intelligence, which is way better. It's smart. It was listed like 27 times in congressional, in a senatorial legislation called the Disclosure Act, where they're trying to pry the technology out of the hands of like Lockheed Martin, who were unfairly given the contracts for these things because there was no process of letting other people bid on, can I work on this?
Right.
Because they wanted to hide them in black budget programs. That's proven fact, what I just told you. So, and I can get you there if you got a couple hours and a few more bottles of whiskey.
Going. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but like your point is very fair. I do like your problem, as you said, because you jumped from, you know, the stand of the stars. You were like, okay, but what? If it's true, I should know about it. And
well, if it's true, it means so much more, is what I'm saying.
But what is your barometer of proof?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's different for everybody, and for me, there were some real.
I think I'm getting there, man. I'm truly believing. Like some of that footage that was unedited from the military directly. I mean, that's pretty convincing to me.
I have gone high up the food chain, as high as I can imagine at this point, which is I'm trying to reimagine things. Where you get to people who actually physically worked on these non-human intelligence craft, and they're thinking about coming forward to testify in front of Congress at their own detriment, that is real. Those conversations are happening. And so that's kind of where we're at, is what is proof for the world?
Okay, I'll tell you what proof is.
Yeah.
So there's not that much difference between this, where we went through the video footage, and like in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, it's like a thing and it's an orbit and it's weird, and it hasn't changed that much, right? It's
the
like,
UFO phenomenon?
No, just the footage is never like, wow, there it is.
Well, I disagree.
Okay,
I disagree.
well, I'm a layman. You're an expert.
Yeah. No,
But
people
for
say
me,
I'm aggressive. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just
I'm just talking about proof.
Yeah.
But so proof, you want some unequivocal proof. The other thing would be, okay, if they do have, let's see the machines. Let's see these things.
Yes.
A, and then B, okay, if there are so-called biologics or whatever.
I feel like that's me. I'm not an asshole. I'm just passionate.
This is the biggest story.
I need to work on
Humanity
delivery,
now.
though, for sure.
And also, we have these things where we're going to release the JFK things. We're going to release the things. We're going to release all this footage. We're going to put people.
How's that worked out?
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's since whoever JFK till now, that means every president, every national security advisor. Okay, so
not every president is told the same amount of information. I know that for a fact. I know people that has brief precedents on that.
So that's the whole thing. Like the amount of, if it's the biggest story ever, right?
Yes, it is.
Then the amount of people that know about the biggest story ever, and the only guy we've got is Bob Lazar, sort of.
No, you got tons of people. You have directors of national security coming out and admitting that we don't know what these are. So that's the thing. I think it takes like a kind of a critical mass of information. Videos and everything I'm doing in journalism.
That's a good point. It's not going to be one video or one thing. It's kind of
this is
culmination of
all we have now.
Convincing videos over time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're trying to use investigative journalism to force them.
I don't have much longer in me on this stream, boys.
Have the proof, so that we can sit here and say, okay, now we saw the machines, and now this means, because what's the next step and the next step and
I'm
the
not trying
third
to force
step?
them. I'm trying to force us, because we have representative government, man. There's people have been hiding this and holding it so tightly, and unless somebody gives me a good reason, I'm not stopping. But yeah, we're trying to use investigative journalism to poke holes, to show, either hold them accountable or show how they lied. It's one or the other. And so, yeah, that is part of the mission,
But the end of your mission, if you will, would be, okay, they open up Area 51 and we see the 9
No,
crafts.
there are secrets that should stay there for national
Really?
security. Yeah, absolutely. Secrets are kept, and they should be kept, but not about nature and the fundamental reality that we live in. Like, for example, to give you a hardcore example, we all know that there's nuclear science. We do not know how to make a nuclear bomb at home in our living room. Fine. You've admitted that atomic bombs exist. You've admitted that we know how to make them. You've also admitted that there's a whole element of science dedicated to nuclear science. That doesn't mean you're giving people the codes to how to make nuclear weapons. So, same thing.
I could see the point he's making. Maybe like, especially if like alien nuclear bombs. Maybe we don't even know how to make one of those from some fucking beads and bleach.
If we're not alone in the universe, it's the biggest story of all time. Even if they're from here originally, just from a long time ago. If that ends up being what it is, and it's not something bigger than my head, like interdimensional, I can't even live in this dimension. I don't know the ultimate reality. There's extraterrestrial, extratemporal, interdimensional, ultra-terrestrial, meaning they're from here. I don't care. I don't care about the nuclear.
Sorry, what's ultra-terrestrial?
That's like they're from here, they just predate us, right? Or
like a time.
Or they live here, or yeah, maybe a long time
Live
civilization,
amongst us,
breakaway civilization, ultra-terrestrial. But you know, the thing is too, they could just be here as like a waypoint, man.
Yeah, well, so again, there's a million questions. If, in fact, you go with the hypothesis, okay, if there are machines, if there is technology, which you're taking as a given.
No, I'm not taking it as a given. I know it's true.
Okay, so if that's true, then obviously there's, what is it called? Non-human intelligence?
Yeah, NHI is the new hip term.
I like
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
So then there's NHIs. Now that is just the beginning.
It is.
That's
correct.
the springboard into all of these discussions. So for me, which is why I'm going to be honest with you, I have two reasons.
Please always be honest.
Because if in the near future this story breaks, it's the biggest story in the world, which means you've worked on it a long time, but I'm going to have this in the can, so we'll be part of the biggest story ever breaking.
I hope it
so
does
we're following it down just like we follow any other story. And if it is the biggest story in the history of humanity,
tell the next
we
story.
want to get into a piece of it. Now that's a, and so B, just philosophically, it brings up a lot of questions, which I'm interested in, and there's a lot of knock-on things. For example, government, FOIA, what's true, what's not true, you know, what are they keeping? If they are keeping, what are they keeping and for what reason?
DOJ does not like what I do for a living.
Hi, it's Shane Smith. Now, before we get back to it, I wanted to let you know about my new Substack. I'm shanesmith.substack.com. Now, from extended versions of this show to behind-the-scenes stories from my adventures.
And Ice Demon takes 10 years to do, but it's worth so many points.
It's free if you sign up now. So go to shanesmith.substack.com and enter your email. That's it, shanesmith.substack.com. Or click the link below. Now on with the show, which rhymes with Bazango.
Maybe let's go to that, because you did the documentary. What happened to Bob Lazar with that sort of fallout of he started talking and then there was theoretically some, you know, government pushback or whatever?
I feel like the least qualified person to be in the position that I'm in when it comes to journalism. Right. I feel like Inspector Crusoe, is that funny French dude? Yeah. More handsome. But like, what happened with that was George Knapp, investigative reporter out of Las Vegas, didn't have somebody to fill the time slot.
Who among us has not heard about an alleged UFO cover-up?
I saw that footage. So she got him in the van.
Just did a blur out of his face because he was already under threat. The reason he did that was for self-protection. The man that put him in that car was John Lear. He was like, dude, you got to come forward, Bob.
So he was doing that, so if you correct me if I'm wrong, so that he could have it out there so no one would kill him, because he was
literally fearing for his life because of what he says happened to him, that we verified a lot of. He was fearing for his life. George unknowingly, you know, said the guy John Lear had some trust with George because he had talked to George's mentor about the stealth fighter, and he was right about it at 51. John Lear was like the godfather.
The existence of the stealth fighter or the development.
John Lear's dad was William P. Lear, inventor of the Learjet, the 8-track stereo. And, you know, he was like really up there in the echelon. So everybody revered John. He flew all these CIA flights. So people were like, John would come in and talk about things that actually were true out at Area 51. And they're like, cool. So when he came and talked about this, George sees him, you know, budding journalist at the time. He goes, oh, look at those. I'll listen to that. He looks into it. That's kind of how it all started, was he called John and goes, hey, you got that guy that might want to break from the fold from 51 and maybe go on camera, you know, just shot in the dark. John's like, yeah, no problem. Come on over.
It wasn't like he was chasing a lead.
No, he didn't. He literally had somebody drop out of his show and like in real time had to.
Which is kind of interesting because in the documentary, it sort of feels that way. Like, we just got this guy, we did it. And then he's like, then it got picked up all over the world by Brand News, and then it became a big news story.
Tonight, it's a chilling scenario with worldwide implications that may have its roots right here. This week, we've heard the contention of UFO researchers that there's a secret government within our government.
And George said, I take this seriously. And then he dug in to, is Bob a lying piece of or is he telling the truth? Turns out he's telling the truth. That's what George came to.
What I find interesting about it is, I have two minds of it. When he throws away stuff, Well, then we'd walk in, and on the right there's the gray thing, and on the right there's the orange thing. Like, it was pretty involved. Like, so just as throwaway facts.
Yeah, oh yeah, the way Bob Lazar told what happened to him.
Yeah.
He had a lot of detail, right?
Yeah, a lot of detail. So that rings true. But then, like, and especially on the Rogan thing, it would be like, well, what's that? Well, I don't remember.
Have you ever asked anyone where they got them or how they got them?
No, but something must have been said to me, but it was just too long ago, and I can't quite remember what was said. But it just left a seed in my mind. I think at least one of them was part of an archaeological dig.
You got to understand, Bob, that how many years ago? 35. By the time I got him on that show with Rogan, first of all, it was not easy. Like, Bob didn't want to come forward. I honestly convinced him that everybody's going to make up lies about him, and that will be his history unless he talked for himself. It's like,
that's true.
It's like getting the
That's a good point.
camera, right? Like, he had not gone on camera except these tiny little snippets with George out of loyalty for like 35 years to finally get him and make a documentary. He didn't get from my documentary. He just got grief.
I don't like being in the public eye. I don't got money for doing this. And quite frankly, I could make up a better lie, but I have no motivation to lie.
And so it was like, the fact he did it, I was like really proud of him as a human being to put himself back out there. There's a new thing they're making on him where they replicate the whole thing that he saw, because everybody wants to know, what did it really look like? So hopefully for him, he gets something out of it, but like, you know, it's his life story, but like they're finally going to show you what it looks like in the hangar. But yeah, look, man, if we're sitting here and you think you're going to get to the bottom of UFOs by figuring out if Bob Lazar is telling the truth, then you're as lost as I was back then. It's not going to teach you anything.
I'm just starting at the beginning.
This is Shane asks questions.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. So I was starting at the beginning. So you get into it.
Right.
By making the movie about that.
Can I tell you that story instead?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I heard Bob Lazar on the radio, and it was George Knapp, and he is talking about propulsion, and he's saying that it's a gravity well. These things are propelled by gravity, and a thing called element 115, which we believe is correct. He's not sure on everything, but that it falls into space-time. And I thought, how fucking weird. I'm a 13-year-old idiot kid. Right? I listen to Metallica. I don't give about this stuff. I hear him explain it. And it's like, wait a second. So I was doing jujitsu, right? So I knew a little bit about mechanics. It falls into place. I'm like, that's weird. It flipped my script. I was like, wait a second. If that's true, then points in space and time are connected, and it doesn't take light speed and thousands of years to get somewhere. It's instantaneous. And I go, I want to know if that's true. Right. But I'm 13 years old and I don't know anybody, and what the hell? So I went off and started doing jiu-jitsu and all this other and then I kind of came back to it, and I was like, I really want to know if that guy's telling the truth. He's been consistent now for like 20, 30 years. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? But there's no way. How do I get to someone like that? Yeah. There's no way.
It's a beautiful crab room for me.
Gave me one of these
Proud of myself for that.
Just a little Canon 5B. First person I pointed it at, they spilled the beans about they didn't even tell their wife about. Right. And I'm like, this is my passport into my curiousness. You know, this is what I can do. It is my passport. So I would point that at people and tell them, yeah, I'm going to make a movie. I've never made a movie in my life. I'm making a film. Yeah. And they'd start spilling. And then I think I'm charming. So what would happen is people would continue to talk with me. Right. And over years, I started filming this guy, John Lear, and George Knapp got wind of it. And then one day he called me back after 2 years of me leaving messages for him at his news station and emailing him.
In Vegas.
And it was like the longest pause in telephone history. I think he was eating a sandwich, but he gave me his time and he told me. And I was like, okay, I'm genuine. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just want to know. That's how I got started with George Knapp. Gave me a chance. He gave me a chance, even though I was not a journalist at the time. He's been mentoring me in journalism for 11, 12 years now. And so that was the entry point. And each time I earned some trust, they spread that around. Right. So you get to Commander Fravor, the most famous UFO case of all time now is 2004 Tic Tac. There's this bearded, tattooed guy that calls him up from the desert. And I'm like, hey, man, I heard from a friend that you chased a UFO. Who are you? How'd you hear that? What are you talking about? I mean, I got coaching from my friends how to speak pilot before I called him. I'm not that dumb, right? So I earned his trust, and when I kept his trust and didn't break the story, although we did kind of break it twice on a radio show with his permission to a degree, didn't put his name or face out there. And I called him. I said, "You're on the fucking news. I told you your story was important, and it's never going away, and it's coming out with or without me."
This is the story of the Tic Tac.
Yeah, Commander David Fravor, who's a good friend of mine, right? So I think when I didn't break his trust, because apparently I'm the only person that keeps their mouth shut when you ask them to, and that's a super talent, and I didn't know that. I did that for him, because I promised him, and that spread around. And so all those things compiled, all of a sudden, people
Good for
tell
him,
me more
man.
than I want to know,
Right.
and they tell me shit I shouldn't know. And I report on 1% of it.
How do you sit on all this stuff?
Clearly, I'm a relaxed person. That's what I remember about you the first time I met you. You had a laugh, man.
Oh, yeah.
You came in like you had something around your neck, like a big piece of jewelry. You walk into Vice like this, and you laughed like loud. I was like, that guy's having a good time.
Sure. Life is good.
Life is
good. Especially if we can break this story on...
We're not going to break it, man. Come on.
Why?
We're not going to break it.
Why?
Because the opposition to this...
If there's evidence out there,
there's
if
a
there's documents,
preposterous preponderance of evidence.
if there's actual technology, machines, whatever you want to call them...
They're not going to let us in, bro.
But...
Oh, that's right. This is the Vice guy, isn't it? Dave Smith. Or Shane Smith, not Dave Smith.
Okay, maybe in the 50s
That's the other guy.
and the 60s during the Cold War and the Army and everything. But we've reached a time when, if it's going to hold, it's not going to hold much longer.
You hear that, everybody? I'm talking right to the camera. It ain't going to hold. Shane said so. I agree. Let the information out.
Let the information
There's
out.
a nuclear program, right? We know about nukes. UFOs are real. There are non-human intelligence engaging humanity on a regular basis, durationally. Okay, we can handle it.
Well, we have to get the sort of unequivocal proof whether we beat the government at their own game, which is doable.
I'm not against them. I want to work with them.
Okay, work with them. Fine.
I do because...
But hold on. But they've proven themselves, if we follow the logic path, they've proven themselves adversarial.
Who are they? So I know a lot of people in government that are fighting with me to get this information out. That is 90% of my experience.
Well, obviously they're fighting against someone who's keeping the information in.
That's true, but it's a very small minority of people with great power.
Yeah.
And responsibility, but power. So, I'm kind of making fun as we're joking, like, I want it broken too. Yes, this is the biggest story.
Yeah.
And I happen to know it's true. And yeah, that eats me inside at night. But, I have a dog, I have a wife, I have a family, I have a good life. It's not going to kill me if the story doesn't break. And I'm certainly the wrong messenger to break it. There are people that are better suited to tell you what's going on. It's not my responsibility either. But I just feel like if anybody takes as much time to look at this issue that they do on simply looking at hairstyles on Instagram, then they're going to know that this is true, and they're going to demand the answers. Because, and this is the part where we get serious. You will see my day-to-day soon, because my best weapon was my camera and letting somebody film me through these moments that were harder. You'll see me at my worst point. That's coming out, and I'm okay with that because I want people to see. But if you can kind of see this...
So this is like a documentary, or...
Yeah, I shouldn't say anything, but, this kid's been like... when I was going through some of the threats that I have received, when I have been going through hard times like that, the only defense I had was to record everything, wired up all the time. Everything's filmed, and you're going to see that. You're going to see it, how it really happened. And I'm happy about that, because then people will have a level of trust, that I think is necessary for this conversation. We have to have trust. There's a lot of crazy people when it comes into government, and it comes into this thing, because it triggers this shielding into religion, or this triggers this shielding into I'm smarter, I'm scared of the unknown. So there's this whole thing that happens existentially. You get what I call ontological shock. I looked up the word, I believe I'm correct. Ontological shock, the existence of being, I think that word means. So that happens to people. But I told you I'm going to get serious, so let me get serious for a second. What I do, not as a journalist, is I have facilitated whistleblowers, government employees who have had repercussions due to sometimes accidental spillage to the UAP topic. So they're inside their government office. They see something they shouldn't. What has happened to some of these people is criminal. 100% provable in the court of law. It's criminal. And you will see that, it will be reported on, and everybody can be judge, jury, and executioner. That's up to them. I'm going to report the news, though. So that has happened to too many people. So here's the deal. Whistleblowers come to me, or I find them. Half of what I do is putting together people that say, I'll protect you, and people that say, I've had an experience that I believe. And you will see that in Congress if they have courage and they do their job, and I will supply them those whistleblowers who are government vetted 4 years by me and George Knapp. This is not casual. I know what they drink. I know who they hang with. I know where they worked, and I verified it with people on the inside and sources that I've never.
Who's the biggest whistleblower
so far?
Right now, so far, yeah.
David Grush.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
So give me his story.
David Grush came to me and George Knapp at a bar, like all good stories start. It was a spook bar, and it was for, a UAP-related thing. And he handed George Knapp, trusted journalist, his ICIG complaint, Intelligence Community Inspector General complaint, before he submitted it. I believe, or maybe after he submitted it. He wanted journalists to know that could shield him. Inspector General means like the police of. So the police of the intelligence community.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope we get a good new one, by the way. But anyway, they deemed his report credible and urgent.
The Inspector General did.
He was tasked as a veteran and an intelligence officer. He was tasked by the UAPTF, run by a great guy named Jay Stratton, who ran the UFO program, that part, UAPTF, UAP Task Force.
For who?
For our DOD. But he was transparent.
So he's a government employee.
Yeah, he was. And he was transparent as best he could with the American public. I really admire him for that. People have all these opinions on who's spooks, who's not spooks. They think, I'm at CIA. Where's my fucking paycheck? All I get is grief.
Right, those few agility levels I got really helped with this.
He does his ICIG complaint.
I need to get back on that grind. Go for 90.
He was in the positions he said. He was specifically tasked by the UAP Task Force and Jay Stratton to investigate the black budget programs that deal with UFOs and non-human intelligence and tell us, are they hiding? And he did. And he hit pay dirt. And he did everything he could to tell what was going on internally as an intelligence agent. And it's his story to tell, but it didn't go well. So he did a complaint, like going to the police and HR, and this is really serious. And they said,
So I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do.
And now I'm...
So I'm going to make a complaint, and this is the paperwork that...
Yeah, but he's a fastidious...
Right.
So he didn't just make a complaint. He brought in 40 witnesses. Right. And he had them also testify under oath to all of them and give written statements and verbal statements, recorded statements, people that worked in these UFO programs. So that's his move. He's a gangster, right? You don't David Grush.
What was the reaction?
Well, it's a mixed bag, isn't it now? Because what's happened is he came forward, and finally with me and George, we're kind of guiding him. Hey, we've been down this road. Like, be careful of this. We know some people. Let's talk about this. Let's get you out in front so it's harder to hurt you, and it worked well. And there he is, like this, testifying to Congress. To his left was Commander David Fravor, the guy that chased the UFO.
So what did they say?
David Grush said, I uncovered the fact that the United States government with other nations, I read into the programs, I can tell you everything for national security in a skiff, but here's the basics. There are UFOs. There are non-human intelligence. We have crash retrieval programs. We've been trying to exploit the technology.
Crash retrieval meaning if a UAP crashes, that we have a thing to go get it.
I'm suspicious of the crash thing. I think they're more like gifts, but whatever. Yeah, crash retrievals, they crash. Wow. We jump in with different agencies and, we collect up the material. We bring them over to like Battelle, BAE, Lockheed, Raytheon, whoever and we give them a piece and say, we don't know where it comes from, but we want you to reverse engineer it, whatever.
All right, well, as interesting as this documentary is, I do have to call it there, boys. It is getting a little late for me, and I think it's time for bed. So thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you're still here, please drop a like and follow in the stream. If you're on here, Twitch or YouTube, I'm not sure. But until then, I'll catch you next time.